Well, I need action.
All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Tuesday night. Number one show for the fans by the fans is back. Knicks Weekly, presented by Manscaped, CP the Franchise, Alex Rotaros, JD Sports Talk in the building. We are ramping up to Knicks training camp, folks. Just a couple weeks away. So our training camp content, our training camp primer, if you will, is underway. Tonight's show, there's been a lot of talk about this Knicks young core. So we're going to talk about where this young core stacks up against the beasts of the East, man. Where does this Knicks young core stack up against the East? R.J. Barrett was reintroduced to the Knicks faithful yesterday after he signed his 4-year contract extension. We'll talk a little bit about that and a couple other odds and ends, a couple other announcements. So make sure you guys are locked in for the whole show. Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to the replay gang. Let's get into it. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Fellas, how we feeling, man? Tuesday night. How we doing?
Chilling, man. Chilling. It's a nice Tuesday night just to talk New York Knicks.
Yeah.
And everything but New York Knicks,
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So let's get right into it, man. The young core. That has been the topic. And JD, I see you switch the brims. Let's.
You asked me how I'm feeling. I'm feeling great.
I'm feeling great myself on that regard. We'll table the football talk to the end of the show.
I'll leave.
Yeah, Al, you could by that time you could leave. But anyway, as I was saying, man, that this young core has been a topic of discussion for the whole offseason, whether it's the draft, free agency, the trade talk, so on and so forth. A lot of the fan base had, some favorable opinions on this young core. So I wanted to have this show to kind of talk about, let's do an exercise on where they stack up against a lot of the young cores in the East. Now, as far as the criteria, there was a lot of different criteria that we could have used to come up with this list, right? You could have went with a certain age, 25 and under, 24 and under. But I decided for this one, let's keep it to players on their rookie year deal. So let's say, 4 years or less in the league, 4 draft class or less. So the first team I want to talk about is the Orlando Magic. Obviously drafting Paolo Banchero with the first pick this past draft. You have, we always say first rule of Summer League is it's only Summer League. But to see what this kid was looking like out there, the tool sets that he was flashing, capable of scoring on all 3 levels, the passing ability, his size, the kid was very impressive. And I think Orlando made the right choice, even though it's early. We don't know what the kid that OKC picked up, what he's going to be looking like. But I think the safer pick was Banchero. I think Orlando's got themselves as a player. If you guys look at what Franz Wagner is doing in Eurobasket, he had an outstanding rookie year, man. All the talk was about Scotty Barnes and Cade and Mobley, rightfully so. Franz Wagner is another guy in this Magic young core that deserves a lot of recognition because I think he's going to take another leap in his sophomore season, man. His shot creation ability has been on display. Like I said, looking very, very spry out there in Eurobasket. He's looking good. I like Franz Wagner as a prospect coming out of Michigan. And I think with these two guys, I think they're building something nice here with Orlando. If you look at their guards, Cole Anthony, taking another step last year. He's looked pretty good. Obviously still a streaky shooter. The efficiency is not quite there, but certainly a guy that, in the long term can maybe fill a 6-man role with this team. You never know, maybe even a starter. It's going to be interesting to see how they build that out with Banchero, with Wagner. You're going to be looking for some more efficiency there on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. But certainly Cole Anthony has made a name for himself. We really haven't been able to see what Jalen Suggs' true, ability has been. He has been injured. How does he fit out there? Hasn't shot the ball all so well. But nevertheless, I think they've got something brewing there. And then, R.J. Hampton coming over from Denver. He's going to be looking to get his career back on track. I think Orlando's got something brewing. JD, what's your thoughts on this Magic team?
Listen, they have a lot of dynamic, talent to the roster. Obviously, when you're at the state of where the Orlando Magic are as a franchise, they're going to get that opportunity every season to get a top pick. Jalen Suggs being a top 4, top 5 pick, and now you have Banchero being the number 1 pick. I'm sometimes when you analyze these young cores, sometimes one player carries the whole core. Banchero has that opportunity. He's had a very good summer league. He didn't play much, but in the short games that he played, he showed, what he can bring. He is more advertised as NBA ready. So, you know, prognosticators are saying his ceiling may not be as high as Jabari Smith or
Chet.
some of the other prospects, Chet Holmgren, but he may give you more instant, immediate production. And then with Jalen Suggs is interesting because he got a lot of hype coming out of that draft.
Yeah.
Even us as Knicks fans, with the whole journey of getting the point guard before Brunson, he was one that we were interested in and we wanted to get into that to get a player like him, but he didn't shoot very well as a rookie. Only 36% from the field, only 21% from 3 on 4 attempts from 3. So that's a decent sample size there. In a league that you need to be a great, very good shooter, it's going to be interesting for this franchise. I know Banchero is going to be, solid, but in the end, they're going to need their guards to pan out. And so, Cole Anthony now is going into the, what is it, second, third season now, year 3, where now you're going to have to show, some progress, at least on the shooting end, because now there's 2 guards that they have. And the Magic, you know how this goes. You don't shoot well, there comes a point now where as a franchise, this is what happens. You stack up a lot of young talent, but at some point, this talent has to pan out, or the franchise is just going to be stuck. So I think they have a very nice nucleus. I just think at this point now, that franchise is looking to finally start to get those players to take the next step. The Magic have been at this for a long time now. They're still waiting on a guy like Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
But when we look at Jalen Suggs, when we look at Anthony, and Franz Wagner, I think, those are players. Wagner and Banchero, I think, are ahead when you look at the rankings of their core.
Yeah.
I think you would probably have, I guess, Wagner first because he's played. Banchero's right there. And then you're looking at, Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony battling out for their young core.
Al, what's your thoughts on this Magic core?
I agree with what you guys said, a lot of what you guys said. I think the big thing that JD pointed out for like Cole Anthony is like you talk about jump shooting. I think that's just a team as a whole, especially for all the young prospects. You talk about Suggs, Anthony, Hampton, out of all of them, Wagner is the best one who's the best shooter all around. And talk about finishing at the rim, 3-point shooting. Yeah, Cole had a decent 3-point shooting. It was decent, 33%. But still, you look at this entire youth, and they just got to become more consistent as jump shooters. We just talk about that they have young talent. It's putting it all together at this point. I like their future. I think they will be definitely competitors in the East at some point. But at this point, they hoarded a lot of young talent, trading for RJ Hampton. That was just adding more youth to the team just to see who can prosper in this pressure cooker, right? It's creating competition, seeing who can break out as you guys were talking about. So I like what the Magic have. I'm not terrified about the Magic.
Yeah.
I mean, they just played hard. Like they beat us because they outplayed us. We took them too lightly. I think if you take this team seriously, like any other team, you can go out there and beat them because their jump shooting is just inconsistent outside of their veterans. I mean, that's probably the best thing that they have to lean on. But once again, it's between like, are you winning on your youth to show that they got development going on, or do you want to lean on guys like Gary Harris, Wendell Carter Jr. And like, even though these guys are still young, it's still, you're going to rely on them because they've been there, they've done that. I still think they have a lot of questions, especially at the center position. I mean, sure, you got Paolo, who's I think he's going to be more of a power forward, but you still got to look at Mo Bamba, who they signed to a 2-year extension. You got Wendell Carter. I don't really look at them as like this, this force at the 5 in the paint.
Yeah.
But I think they got a good nucleus that will be competitive. They'll probably be around like where the Knicks are competing for that 10th seed.
Well, let's talk about and just to close out on the Magic, I think JD's point was well taken in that in picking Banchero, he could be a guy who obviously when you're looking to draft and you're looking to build a young core, you're looking for some foundational pieces, but a franchise player. You're looking for that franchise player, not just a guy that you can build with, but a guy that you can build around. And with Banchero, with the skill sets that he's shown, again, only summer league, let's not overreact. But if that translates, that's a player that you could potentially build around. And so certainly an interesting core. Next up, let's talk about Detroit, a team that we're going to see here coming up a couple of times. You're going to see them in the preseason and then in the Knicks home opener. Detroit obviously coming in with Cade Cunningham, the former number 1 pick in last year's draft. They got Jaden Ivey out of Purdue, a target that the Knicks were looking at. Sadiq Bey, who came out in the draft during Obi Toppin's year a couple years ago. Jalen Duren, the high-flying center out of Memphis, out of this past year's draft. A player who the Knicks could have had, but traded and in a multi-team trade. They have Killian Hayes still trying to find his way. Isaiah Livers, who had a good summer league, and also Isaiah Stewart. So Pistons coming in with a very interesting core. I think with Cade, came out the gates a little bit slow, and I think that's what ultimately kind of dropped him back a little bit in that Rookie of the Year race, but really finished the year strong. I mean, 6'6", he has the size, the length to be a dynamic two-way player. I just love his poise, the ability to orchestrate out there. I like what Detroit is doing, man. 6 top 20 picks. They've had 6 top 20 picks since 2020. And like I said, with Cade, they got their floor general, man. And then combine that with Ivy, I feel like that can kind of be like a thunder and lightning kind of dynamic, where Ivy can be that speed, get out and transition, that flash. And then Cade can kind of be that, half court, get the troops settled, make some plays in the half court, score off ball. They can both play off of each other. And then Cade kind of allows Ivy to kind of come along slowly as a ball handler. So I think their backcourt is basically set for the future. You look at a guy like a Sadiq Bey, dropped a 50-burger this past season, coming out of Nova. His scoring ability certainly been on display, can shoot the 3 fairly well. And then, a guy like a Duren, who we've only been able, obviously you saw him in Memphis, but you saw some flashes in Summer League, the athleticism, the defensive awareness, some passing ability out of Duren. Still raw, but this team is definitely taking shape in terms of their young players. Killian Hayes hasn't really shown much in the 2 years since he's been there, some mostly by injury, but also ineffective play. Hasn't shot the ball well at all. You'd expect him to be coming off the bench. You'll see what he can give them. But I like what Detroit is. Building there, JD.
And it's funny you talk about Killian Hayes. There was reports that if Obi wasn't available, Hayes might have been the pick.
That's right.
Everybody was, again, the whole story goes on with the point guard journey. Hayes was one of the hot topics there as a Knick possibility. And, he's from France. It would have been an interesting story because he's still, he hasn't panned out yet in Detroit. And then now, this is going to be an interesting mix for him because, he was a starter when healthy. I don't project him. I don't think the depth chart projects Killian Hayes as a starter with Detroit now because you're looking at a Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey backcourt with Sadiq Bey at the 3. And, I know we're looking at the cores, but the Pistons are probably adding Marvin Bagley to that. He's only 23, which is crazy to think about because he played well once they acquired him, and he'll probably be their starting power forward. And then you have Isaiah Stewart at 5.
Yeah.
So, the Pistons have an interesting mix. I think the key is going to be Cade Cunningham for them.
Yeah.
And you know, you talked about how he finished strong, you know, in the second half post All-Star game. He averaged almost 22 points per
Yeah, he
game,
did.
but pre All-Star game, he was at 15 points per game, and he shot up to about 46% from the field after the All-Star break. So, you know, he started to see him get comfortable, and now you're adding more explosiveness next to him, which is supposed to be a good fit with Jaden Ivey now. This is going to be an interesting team. I think it's in the best interest of the Knicks that they do play well, being
Yeah.
that the Knicks have a draft pick. Don't think it's going to convey next season, but you never know. Probably a few seasons from now. But you know, the Pistons have a good. They're starting to build something there, and it's going to be up
Yeah.
to, I think, Cade. Sadiq Bey is a nice shooter. Jalen Duren gets some Mitchell Robinson comparisons there. So you know, now Pistons have a interesting opportunity. I think they need some shooting, but this specific young core, I like it only because you have playmaking, you have ball handling ability, you have ability to drive to the basket, and you have some isolation ability here too between Cade and Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, 100%. And then, Al, you got some vets. I know we're talking young core, but Alec Burks can really be the glue for that team.
Here we go.
Oh
Hey,
my
they could
God.
make some
All
noise.
right,
Oh, that's all I'm saying. Don't sleep.
Jesus.
But go ahead on your comments, Al. Go ahead. I'll let you got the floor, bro. Go ahead.
You sure you're not talking about Nerlens Noel over there or Kemba Walker? You sure you're not hyped about those two guys
My
over
boy
there?
Kev. We can't forget about Kev, man.
Oh, and corner boy Kev.
Corner boy Kev is going to
we
be
got
unleashed.
corner boy Kev coming off the bench.
The
too.
way
We all
Casey
know-
going to get him right, bro.
Sure, it's not the Detroit Knicks over there, for all I know. I actually like what the Pistons got going on more than the Orlando Magic. I think for this team to take the next step, if they really want to take that leap this upcoming season in their development, is going to be predicated on what Jaden Ivey does. If he can come out of the gate like hot, rolling on all cylinders, and be that athletic, I'm going to say just like this I don't know, like this crazy drummer, right? Like you're a crazy drummer who has like the crazy solo, who could just go off and do his own thing and just create magic. That's what I feel like Jaden Ivey could show. If he does that, this Pistons team is going to take another level, because Cade Cunningham, you guys already talked about it. He's going to control the pace. He's going to control the tempo. Sadiq Bey, that's your typical 3-and-D guy. Jalen Duren, and you got Isaiah Stewart. Don't forget about Isaiah Stewart, man, who wanted to go after LeBron James. He's not running from any smoke, man. You got two guys.
He had some static with Nerlens Noel. Now they're teammates.
Yeah, man. Look at this. So you got Jalen Duren, who's going to have the explosiveness, like as JD mentioned, close to Mitchell Robinson comps, and then you got Isaiah Stewart, who's just a brick house.
Yeah.
So you got that, and then you also got Marvin Bagley. Like he could play the 4. You can let Duren or Isaiah Stewart play the 5. I feel like that's a really good starting 5 of youth right there. And sure, you can rely on the veterans to come off the bench. You talk about Burks, you talk about Noel if you need to, or even Isaiah Stewart is going to be playing center. This team is like it's a well-rounded team. It feels like a very traditional team where everyone plays their positions. Just kind of like what the Phoenix Suns have going on. I like what they're doing over there. I could see them taking that next step this season if Jaden Ivey pops, and I feel like he is going to pop. We see that he was a gamer at Purdue. I feel like that's going to translate very well to the NBA. You know, he's got a lot of Ja Morant comps, and we saw how Ja Morant came into the league, just guns a-blazing. I feel like that's just going to be Jaden Ivey as well. I feel like his athleticism is really just going to be that transcendent thing that's going to be very difficult for defenses to hone in on, and his ability just to get to the rim with ease. You know, if he really walks down on that jumper, but that's going to take some time being in the NBA, that team's going to be a threat.
If they're 2 picks this year, if they pan out, they could even live with Killian Hayes being a bust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that'll carry, like they'll have a really strong core, and they could carry their franchise. Because as you know, when you have a bust, like when you look at the Magic, I mean, Banchero could pan out, but if Wagner doesn't take another step, or if they miss with Suggs or Anthony, it makes it very murky there. But Cade looks like a sure thing. Sadiq Bey at the very looks like a solid potential 3-and-D player. But Jaden Ivey and Duren, that combo is going to hold the cards to the immediate future of this franchise.
Yeah, that's a fact. And Buzzer Beat in the chat said Isaiah Livers for sure. For sure. Definitely came on strong. In Summer League, could shoot the ball as well. And so definitely adds a nice dynamic to sorry, to that young core in Detroit. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Tonight's episode, we're just going through some of the top young cores in the East and where do the Knicks stack up. And we're gonna get to that, give you all our thoughts on where the Knicks stack up in this Eastern Conference in terms of the young core. So we talked about Detroit, we talked about Orlando. How about the Cavs?
Oof.
A play-in contender last year. To me, this is the force. You have two All-Stars in Garland. I mean, you talk about Garland and the leap that he took. He's pretty much arrived, right? 21-8, 3 turnovers, shot 46% from the field. I believe 38% from 3, or maybe even a little bit better than that. You know, a floor general, but could be a gunner as well, and really, really picked his spots for that team. First time All-Star. Talk about the job that he's done. And then they had the Twin Towers in there, man. I mean, this team was a top 5, top 7 defense, depending on whichever tracker you're looking at, with the Twin Towers of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Jared Allen making the All-Star team. You talk about Mobley. No, he didn't make the team, but he looks like a guy who's well on his way to being an All-Star. And really, you know, it's interesting the way that they've built this team because they went with, you know, traditional bigs, not just with Allen and Mobley, but they even went with marketing starting at the 3. You know, and he's not on this list, but I'm just saying, you know, JB Bickerstaff really went with a big lineup, went with Garland, went with Mobley, went with Allen, and their defense really benefited from it because you had Allen who was going to give you that rim protection, but then Mobley was also going to give you rim protection, but provide you with some perimeter versatility as well. So that's what made them very dangerous. You put Okoro on top of that. He adds to the defensive mix. Offensively, he's not really there, but, you know, Garland certainly makes up for that. Obviously, Spider not being on this mix, on this list, he's going to pick up for that offensive, gap that they were missing. And I think that's why they're going to be a true playoff team this year. So certainly the Cavs are up there. And to me, this is the number one young core in the East right now. You have the 2 All-Stars. You have a budding star in Mobley, and I think they're only going to get better, man. Garland was incredible. Mobley looks good. He's got to work on the shot a little bit. Can he be like a Bosh offensively? You know, in his face-up game, not so sure, but certainly defensively, I mean, he was a force. He's an absolute force.
I mean, and just on, even if you want to take the rest of the team out of the analysis and the equation, right? If we want to just focus on the list that's there and you just want to think these players are how we are starting a team. We talk about how they were able to get Donovan Mitchell. Well, just on this list alone, taking the other players, you know, off the equation, you got 2 pieces right there. You have 2 pieces that allow you to go out there and say, you know what, I'll take a risk on an all-star player like Donovan Mitchell in Mobley and Darius Garland. So, you know, we've talked about the Magic so far. We've talked about the Pistons. You know, the Cavaliers already have in their core 2 foundational pieces that you can start a franchise with and feel very confident about building around, you know, that core. You know, when you look at the Pistons, we'll see what Jaden Ivey becomes.
Yeah.
Right. You looking at the Magic. Let's see Wagner. Let's see some of these other players. But Cavaliers, Garland is already an all-star and he's on this list.
Right.
Mobley, you know, is going to be on his way. And Mobley is already an all-star caliber defender. You know, so you already have all-star ability from these players. And even Isaac Okoro shot 29% from 3 in his rookie season. But last season, I know it was only just shy of 3 attempts, but he still went up to 35%. He was doing very solid from the corner. So when you look at, past people like a Bruce Bowen, right? When you look at players that, didn't become stars, but if they find a niche, and Isaac Okoro looks like he could be that type of player
Yeah.
that could be a force defensively, but if he can just shoot just enough, 35% is right at that mark where you are solid enough shooter that you're going to stay on the court. And the Cavaliers will use him in the fourth quarter, especially now when, you having Mitchell and Garland. You need that defender. Okoro is also a very valuable piece to this core. So
Yeah.
I'm even adding Okoro there just because of what his role could be and his fit on this core.
Yeah.
This is a very dynamic list. And I think, obviously they're in the East, which means the New York Knicks have something to be concerned about here for the next, 5-7 years, decade.
Yeah. And before you go, Al, Buzzer Beat in the chat had an interesting question. He says, how are the Cavs able to make the Twin Towers concept work? And it kind of goes back to what Harper said on our interview. He said, play to your strengths, right? You play to your strengths. If that's what it is, and that's what it is. And with those two guys, but I mean, Mobley's versatility certainly allows them, to do a lot more, right? It's not just two traditional plotting centers. I mean, Mobley, he's more of a hybrid out there. So I think that really allows it to work. But, a lot of guys you speak to, even though, you see the shifts in the league to guys going small, and you look at a Golden State and what Memphis can do at times, some guys will say, listen, I'm staying with my big man. And we'll take it from there. We'll get on the boards and we'll try to control the glass and use the big man to anchor our defense. So I think that's what JB Bickerstaff is looking to do.
For sure. And it comes back down to, like you said, Evan Mobley. In college, he shot 30% from three, right? So, you have to honor him at least if he's out from beyond the perimeter. But that jumper looks too legit not to come through at some point in the NBA just to translate. So him, Jarrett Allen working down there in the post, that should be fine. You got your guard tandem with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I know we talked about Mitchell is not on this list because he already has got that extension. He's already a vet in this league, but I like what JD brought up when it comes to Isaac Okoro. I mean, we already know back in Auburn when we were doing the draft, like deep dives, that this is a defensive guy. Mm-hmm. He already improved to 3. If he could be a 3-and-D guy in this league, the Cavaliers are a scary team, man. They're a top 6 team in the East. They're a top 6 team, and we're talking about prime.
Yeah.
Like I like the Pistons because of what they got up and coming, but the Cavaliers are already here.
Yeah.
Like they're already here. They're already ready to play. They're ready to compete. They're probably not going to win a championship this season, but if you keep this nucleus together with Donovan Mitchell, it's going to happen at some point. And having Karis LeVert come off as a 6th man, they got enough shooters on that team to come off the bench too. You got Olsmith, you got
Kevin
Olsman,
Love,
right? And you got Kevin Love.
Yeah.
You got enough on that team to really make something happen over here. And I think even Ricky Rubio is supposed to be. Did he resign with the Cavs?
Ricky Rubio is back. Ricky Rubio is back, and they also signed somebody else with point guard depth as well. The name is slipping me out to look it up.
So you got point guard depth. You got
Neto?
Veterans.
Neto, yeah.
Raul Neto.
That's IQ's nemesis. That's the Knicks nemesis.
I think we know about Neto. Right?
Yeah, of course.
I think he cooked us on one game.
Of course, man. Nick Killer.
So
he took the stone from Ish Smith.
Oh man, I'm just wait until Clyde Frazier gets happy to talk about Raul Neto. Then we'll really know we've reached Ish Smith category levels. But you have the veteran depth, you got the youth. This team is already set up. I mean, how can you not like being Knicks fans? Obviously, I love the Knicks, but if you're looking from like an outsider, what the Cavaliers have done in such a short amount of time to put this type of team together, it's very impressive, and you got to like what they're doing over there. Yeah. Just from like a pure like basketball fan standpoint, this is a team that's going to compete for a while. They're going to give the Knicks problems for a while. It's tough, man. I'm wondering what happens if they don't trade Agbaji in that deal, because he's a bigger wing who could play the 3,
right?
And they talk about him. Shout out to our guy Corey Tulba. He always talks about having a winning type of personality, a guy who's willing to sacrifice and do whatever is for the best, do whatever's best for the team. Mm-hmm. They had him. I think this team is even on another level, but I still like what Isaac Okoro has and what he can offer this team moving forward.
They got Karis LeVert, 17 points
Yeah.
off the bench this season.
Six
Yeah.
man, dude. That's a legit 6 man to have on this team with
Because
Rubio. Love.
there's conflicting projecting starting lineups. Some starting lineups you see out there have Karis LeVert at the three. Others you see Okoro.
Coro.
I think in the end, I think they go Okoro because of the fit and give Karis LeVert kind of that off the bench scorer type of
Yeah.
role. I just think it's a better fit. I also think, with the Rudy Gobert relationship with Donovan Mitchell, that's going to be interesting there, how that works out with Jared Allen, and the whole Twin Tower thing. How will that click there with Mitchell, and
Yeah.
but the team is young and they're going to be a force, I think, in the East.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They also got Robin Lopez as a backup center.
Robin Lopez on the backup. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So we talked Cavs, Detroit, Orlando. We are talking about some of the top young cores in the East, and we're going to get to the Knicks and where they stack up. Where do they rank amongst the best young cores in the East? So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. 1,000 people in here on the check-in, man. KnicksFanTV live. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. How about the Raptors? Always a team with some solid youngsters. You got the Rookie of the Year, an absolute unicorn in Scotty Barnes, a two-way force who snatched the Rookie of the Year from Cade and Mobley, man. And when you talk about Barnes, I mean, what's there not to like about this kid? The wingspan, incredible. I mean, the kid puts his arms out. He's touching both end lines. It's ridiculous. Bringing the ball up the floor, running in transition, probably takes like 4 steps from end to end. His hands. I mean, Scotty Barnes' potential. I think he hasn't even touched. He hasn't even come close to his ceiling. I think he's barely scraping through. He's kind of like a little Bambi out there. Like, he's just getting started. And I think, like I said, when you look at Orlando, you look at Cleveland, you look at the Raptors with Barnes. I mean, they have the youngsters who you could ideally say, like, we have a player we can build around. And what do you, like, look at, they had a chance to go get KD. They didn't want to put Scotty Barnes in that deal. Ujiri said, hell no. Not a chance. That's his crown jewel. And for me, that's where this Raptors young core starts and ends, man. It's Scotty Barnes, bro. It's absolutely Scotty Barnes. And yeah, they have a couple other guys, Achiuwa, who came out of Memphis and came from Miami, was with Miami for a year and got traded to the Raptors. Malachi Flynn is kind of fallen out of favor. He was another guy that we were looking at during our draft as maybe a potential second round pickup or a late round pickup, a little backup point guard, but he's kind of fallen out of favor in Raptors land, only shooting 32% from 3. So he might be on a little prove it year going into his 3rd year. But overall, what's your thoughts? Al, I'll start with you to kick us off. What's your thoughts on this Raptors core, Scotty Barnes?
I think you said it right. It's Scotty Barnes, and that's about it. I mean, they got a solid team.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at like youth, it's really Scotty Barnes. Like Precious Achiuwa, he's fine. Malachi Flynn, he's fine. You go down the list, like put Gabe Brown, Delano Banton. These are not guys that are really needle movers outside of Scotty Barnes.
Right.
So they're top heavy. If you consider if you incorporate their veterans, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to be a team that's going to compete, but they're not in that rebuilding phase. They're still in the phase after Kawhi has left. They're still these competitive Toronto Raptors that we know about that was pre-Kawhi and now post-Kawhi. It's just different. They don't have Kyle Lowry. They don't have DeMar DeRozan. I still think Toronto is looking to find their way to figure out how they're going to prepare for, life after, or not really life after, but for these upcoming seasons and trying to figure out how they're going to get new youth to like incorporate in here. But I'm not really terrified about the depth of the youth on this team. But this is still just a fine competitive team. They're not going to be really competing for championship, but they're not going to be bad enough to go tanking either, unless they do what they did 2 years ago and just bench everybody. But can't do that all the time. So they're just a middling team to me that's just playoff competitive.
The interesting thing about the Raptors core is, as you mentioned, they don't have the quantity when you compare them to the other cores, but the one player they have could turn out to be the best of the
That's
whole
right.
list, all
That's
the
right.
list.
That's right.
You know, and we know that, you know, you can have quantity, but if you have that one guy, that can seal the deal right there. And I'm pretty sure that Ujiri, you know, sees some Kawhi, he sees some Giannis, he knows about those two players, right? And so that I think that's a reason why he had no interest in including him in any Kevin Durant negotiations, because I think he sees a little bit of that type of potential and ceiling. And if he turns out to be, you know, anywhere close to those two players, then forget about it. The Raptors won. And with a guy like Ujiri, I'm pretty sure that'll make them a perennial contender.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see, because you know, as we discuss, he is gonna have to, you know, get better. You know, shooting. He's only taking just, you know, about 2.5 threes, and he
Yeah.
only shot 30% his rookie season, 73.5% from the free throw line. So he's trending towards solid, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to improve that. I think for a player his size, you know, he's probably going to want to get more free throw attempts. He only had 3 free throw attempts as a rookie. So when we talk about, you know, again, comparing him to the Kawhis and the Giannis and those type of players, those guys get to the line a lot. And so I think that'll be the next step for him, is having impact on the floor in the areas that really slow the game down, the free throw line, getting to the basket, and that'll help him, you know, basically live up to his potential, in my opinion. But we'll see. Other than him, the Raptors as a franchise, I think, are in that sort of they're going to see type of phase, because when you really even look at their team and you look at Pascal Siakam, he's 28, so he's heading into that latter, you know, that prime, you know, years, but he's not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Scotty Barnes timeline per se. And then you have OG, who's a player that's been in a lot of rumors. So is he part of their future?
Right.
So, you know, when you really look at the team now, you know, Barnes is very going to be very important to allow Ujiri to transition into the next lifetime of this franchise. So I think, you know, he's going to need to really develop. But you know, they still need more pieces, if we're going to talk about putting them at the top of the list.
No question about it. And we've gotten halfway through our list. Let me just take a quick reset. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Fellas, as you know, man, Manscaped is the presenting sponsor of KnicksFanTV. They have a ton of great products, especially for today's man. It starts with the Lawnmower 4.0, fellas, the #1 men's grooming tool below the waist, trusted by over 2 million men around the world. These things ship to the United States, Canada, Europe, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. Shout out to my guys in New Zealand, Singapore as well. So to all of our worldwide fans, go ahead and support us. Go get that Lawnmower 4.0, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping by using promo code KFTV. Go to manscaped.com, promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. And you also, along with the Lawnmower 4.0, you have the shampoo, body wash, deodorant, cologne. I mean, Manscaped pretty much has everything that you need to get it going, man. So no excuse. Go ahead and go get yours today. Also, additional announcements, fellas. The Knicks home opener, the Knicks Fan TV home opener event tickets are on sale now. Official. See RJ, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle. I know you guys want to see Julius
Mitchell.
real. No Donovan.
But
Right. Take it on Cade Cunningham and the Pistons at MSG, man. It's going to be a Friday night, October 21st. We'll all be there, myself, JD, Alex as well, with my guys, the Knicks OmniFan. So go to the omnifan.com to go get your tickets today. The omnifan.com, and TM, just go ahead and throw that in the chat. But looking forward to that one, man. Definitely going to be a good one. RJ, Cade, Jaden Ivey, Alec Burks. It's gonna be star-studded, man. It's gonna be star-studded. You know
I'm gonna tell you what, if you know, seeing some of these videos, listen, man, I think for the first time in a while, I'm not scared of some of these guards coming to the Garden and cooking our point guard, because I think our point guard is gonna
Yeah.
he's gonna give the business to a lot of these other point
Yeah.
guards too. Because if you see this guy's handles and the way he creates a shot, I think we'll be a good hands for the first time in a while at that position. So it's
Yeah.
gonna add a lot of excitement to that home opener, and I can't wait.
Absolutely, man. Now, Al, I was, me and because my guy Angel made the flyer, made the promo graphic for the game, and we were battling. He was like, "Who do you want? Who do you want on the cover? Who do you want?" And he was like, "Yo, I think we should go with RJ and Cade." I was like, "Yo, I think this other one would sell." So I'm gonna show you guys the unreleased version of the flyer.
Oh my God.
And
I'm done.
It goes a
Stop.
little something like this, man. This is something I came up with myself. It was RJ, Jalen Brunson, and Mitch. And then on the other side, you have Revenge, Kemba Walker, Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks. This is what the people want to see. This is the marquee matchup. Me and Angel were battling. I said, bro, this is the flyer that we need. We would have sold out already. This is it. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. It's going
Are
to be...
you sure 2 of those 3 are gonna play that game?
Are you sure?
They might suit up. Hey, they might
What-
suit up just for that night. Just for
Let me
that
tell you
night.
something. If Kemba Walker isn't released, if Nerlens Noel isn't in arbitration,
Or
and if
body
Alec
cast.
Burks is and Alec Burks is healthy, you might have something here. You may have something here.
The way Casey's bringing corner
God.
Kev off the bench just to be a sniper. They got the playbook already, bro. It's going to be, hey, don't sleep. It's going to be a tough game, man. It's going to be a tough game. They got the playbook and everything, bro.
I mean, listen, early on in the season, you saw what happened last year with the Magic, right? Like that. These are the tricky games.
Yeah.
These young teams, fresh young legs, fast and dynamic.
Yeah.
Is early on. You see in the NFL, upsets happen. So I definitely believe it's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah, now it's going to be a good one, man. Definitely going to be a good Friday night. Hope to see everybody out there and rocking with us. Last year was incredible. Obviously, we had the double overtime thriller. We had the live on location from Mustang Harry's. So we're going to be doing all of that. The game includes a pregame event at Mustang Harry's. We're going to be doing a pregame shoot-around. We'll do the picture on the court. We'll have a visit from a Knicks alumni, and then we'll get to watch the game on the in the Chase Bridge suite with food and everything like that, man. So it's a great package. And once again, go to theomnifan.com to get your ticket today. A lot of fans getting their hands on those, so looking forward to it.
Can't wait for the Mustang and Harry's owner's prediction this year.
Yeah, absolutely. we still have to get a menu item named after this show. The 50 burger didn't make it last year, but hey, maybe this year. Never know, man.
So
But if
Ari-
he goes 60, we're not getting it. So we're gonna have to talk to him before the show and say, let's come up with something more realistic.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Are you going to be grilling all those burgers, JD?
I mean, let's see, man. We'll see. We'll see when we do the predictions. I'll let you know.
Absolutely, man.
Well, Ari's saying, hold on. Ari's saying Burke's going to be in his Birkin bag dropping 35, but he forgot to add. But Ari forgot to add that CP's going to be asking for that signed jersey at the end of the game. That's the last part of that sentence. He forgot to add to that.
Not directly. Not directly. You know what I mean? Not directly. If I get it, it'll be through other parties. I wouldn't do that to myself. Not directly. All right. So back to our young core discussion. How about the Pacers? Pacers making a midseason blockbuster trade last year, landing Tyrese Halliburton in exchange for Domantas Sabonis. They drafted Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona this past season. Last season, they came out the draft with Chris Duarte, a target of the Knicks. They got a couple of guys too, man. Aaron Nesmith. They brought in Aaron Nesmith from the Celtics, a guy who, coming out of Vanderbilt, didn't get much playing time with the C's. You have a Jalen Smith who's going to be starting at the power forward, coming out of Maryland, didn't get a chance to play much with the Suns. And Isaiah Jackson, coming out of UNC. I like this Pacers core, man. I definitely like this Pacers core. Obviously, you have to like what Halliburton is giving them at the floor general. A guy who, me personally, wasn't so high on in the draft, and some weren't, some were. But Halliburton definitely is proving himself in this league, man. Had a lot of strong games last season, both with the Kings and the Pacers. You added Duarte to the mix, a guy who, yes, he's older. I believe he's about 25 now, but 3-and-D, capable. And then you add a Mathurin, the athleticism, 3-level scorer. You know, I got to watch him out there at Summer League, and unfortunately, Ivy didn't play. It was Pacers versus Pistons, but you know, Mathurin looks like the goods, man. Yeah, and then you know you put an Isaiah Jackson out there, a guy who is going to be a force around the rim, giving you some rim protection. You have Terry Taylor, guy who's going to be jumping on the boards. I think Pacers got a nice young squad, man. Yeah, JD, what's your take on the Pacers?
I mean, I do think they have nice pieces. I think they're going to struggle this season because you know they have solid pieces, but they don't have that guy that can really. I mean, maybe Bennett, maybe Mathurin becomes that player. But even when you look at like Chris Duarte, solid player. He's a plus. Tyrese Halliburton, I personally think this is just my opinion. I think people overrate him a little bit too much. And I don't know if it's in relationship because I'm on the Knicks side and the Knicks could have had him. We should have drafted him. Yeah. I think, yeah, I guess yes. But I think when people make those assertions, they like rate him a little higher than they should. But he's very efficient, so he's very solid. Isaiah Jackson's had 12 points and 6 rebounds as a starter last season. Once they started to start, he started 15 games towards the tail end for the Pacers, and he's a solid shot blocker there. So they have some nice pieces. I guess a little bit similar to the Knicks in that they got solid pieces here. They got the center, they got some players there, but I'm still looking for that. They don't got a Scotty Barnes. They don't got a Darius Garland. They don't have a Evan Mobley. They don't have a maybe Banchero. Let's see.
Yeah.
So I would say solid. But obviously they're going to be where they are for a reason, is because they're going to start a rebuild and they're going to want to get that next franchise player.
For sure. And I like this team's okay, in my opinion. I'm not overly hyped about the Pacers. When I look at their roster, I like Benedict Mathurin out of all the guys we listed. I think just him being a 3-level threat. Sure, we haven't seen him play yet, but he looked good in Summer League. Tyrese Halliburton, he's a solid player. I think he's overhyped because everyone talks about him a lot, but I think he's just a solid, well-rounded player, a good guy that plays. He's a connector, good off-ball player. Not the guy that I would necessarily want being my primary ball handler, just like initiating the offense, but definitely could be like a Lonzo type player where you could swing it to him. He's going to find the next open guy. He can knock down his shots. He can drive the lane and finish around the rim. Very effective and efficient shooter all around. I like his game. And then Chris Duarte, 3-and-D guy, solid. Yeah, he had ties to the Knicks. Like I see him as just like he's just even though he's a rookie, he's a veteran already in the league because of his age and just playing in college for so long. So I like what they got there. Outside of that, they got a lot of role players, honestly. There's no one, I think that we can all agree on that. Even JD talked about, like, there's no one that you look at on that in that youth category and just say, that's the guy who is like Scotty Barnes or even like Darius Garland. They don't have that guy. And they don't even look like the Magic to me, where it's like a lot of young talent where someone could pop. I see if someone does, I think it's going to be I think it's unlikely that any of these guys really pop and be that all-star, superstar, like top 3 all-NBA type player. But they got a nice set of role players. This is a team that's still building and looking to just tank. That's really what they're doing. Like they still got, they still have Miles Turner on the team. Yeah. Got to figure out what you're going to do with him. Buddy Hield, good shooter, not a great defender. This team is, to me, it's very weirdly built. So I don't look at them as any threat unless you're looking for the Knicks to tank.
Yeah.
And Duarte's already 25. He shot 36% from three last season, 13 points, 43% from the field. So solid numbers, but
Yeah.
again, he's 25 already. So that's gonna be interesting how that pans out in a few years in terms of how he plays into their young core. Because the team is gonna get younger. And he's more like on the Obi side in terms of that older rookie. Although Duarte has more of evaluated more as of an NBA ready player, where Obi is thought to have still some high upside.
True indeed. What do you guys think in the chat about this Pacers young squad? And then let's take a look at the Hawks. How about the Atlanta Hawks, who still have some guys on rookie contracts? DeAndre Hunter. And I know he's been injured a lot, but I thought he was going to have a little bit more upside to him coming out of Virginia. There was a lot of Kawhi Leonard comparisons. I didn't think he was going to be Kawhi, but I thought he was going to be a little bit better than he's been so far in his career. And yes, he's been beset by injuries and things of that nature. And obviously, the Cavs offense has been, running through Trae Young, Bogdanovich to a lesser extent. And so Hunter's really been in that support role, but he hasn't really been the guy that I think he was hyped up to be coming out of that NCAA tournament run out of Virginia. They have Okongwu, who's still looking to establish himself. Obviously, Clint Capella's kind of been blocking his ascension, but Okongwu certainly showed some flashes here and there. Jalen Johnson hasn't really gotten his opportunity. Maybe with Herter getting traded to the Kings, maybe that becomes opens up a window for him. They got rid of Sharif Cooper. AJ Griffin, who they just drafted out of Duke. I think he will benefit greatly from the addition of DeJounte Murray along with Trae Young. Obviously, just being in that, catch and shoot situations. I believe he can probably fill in for where Herter left off. I think he's going to certainly fill a role there in his rookie year. So decent in terms of the criteria, right? Obviously, we don't have Young, we don't have Murray on there. Well, we're talking about guys that are on rookie scale contracts, 4 years or less in the league, 4 drafts or less in the league. Al, your thoughts on the Hawks?
On this youth, not impressed.
Yeah.
Because you haven't seen anyone really pop. Hunter, injured. Okongwu, you talked about it. He's blocked. AJ Griffin, we haven't seen him play yet. Like, Trae Young's on the list. DeJounte Murray. But even if I look at this team, like, once again, I look at it as a very top-heavy team. You got, if we just put the entire roster on here, right? Let's say Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter. You got Collins, Clint Capella, Bogey. That's 6 guys. Outside of that, not really intimidating afterwards. You're really just trying to figure out what you have in AJ Griffin. Can he be a contributor as he enters the NBA? Question marks. We saw he was good in Duke. Will that translate to the NBA? Will he have that athleticism that everyone's looking for? These are the big question marks out of AJ Griffin. If he does pop, you can start to say, okay, the Hawks got something going on over there. But as of right now, this young core, this is just the Hawks are competitive, so they're not going to really get the draft position unless they start trading with teams that have poor draft picks.
Yeah.
So they're trying to compete right now. I think them trading their 2 first unprotected picks for DeJounte Murray is going to ruin that for them to try to add depth. They're going to have to go through free agency if they're going to do that. I think they cap themselves out with that move. I think it will be an interesting fit. I think it'll be an awkward fit with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Trae Young has been so ball dominant since he's been on that team, being the initiator, being the scorer, and now you're going to insert someone like DeJounte Murray as well, who's also been ball dominant and been the initiator for the Spurs. I'm very curious to see how that works. I know you could say, hey, it's one basketball, and like people could say, oh, look, well, Chris Paul and James Harden were able to figure it out. It's not the same category. DeJounte Murray is not that type of shooter, and Trae Young is that shooter. So how are they going to make it mix and match? Maybe put DeJounte Murray as someone who attacks the rim more, and then we'll have Trae Young as an off-ball guy. I still find the entire thing interesting. I don't think it's going to be that great of a team. I don't see them really competing for being in a top 6 position. I think they're a play-in team that will probably make a 7th, 8th seed if they do make it. But then you add the young core. If anyone's going to really pop and help this team, I don't see that at all either.
JD, go.
I got sick and tired of hearing DeAndre Hunter is better than RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
You guys remember when
Yeah.
that was going
Oh,
on?
Yeah.
nasty business.
And the Hawks have, it's been interesting because, even, relating it to the Knicks, there was a time about a season and a half ago where everybody was gloating about their young talent, and 2 years later, Cam's no longer there. He was part of that core. Kevin Huerter's no longer there. He was part of that.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be Klay Thompson the
Yeah.
way they
Yeah.
were hyping him up. And now, as you can see, they've kind of shifted towards, trying to get players that can play now. With their trade of DeJounte Murray, they had that draft where they also could have had Halliburton, and they went with Okongwu. Who knows how this year works if they would have had that backcourt and they didn't feel the necessity to get a Murray.
Yeah.
So they've made some very questionable decisions. And I think now, and they also have somewhat of a glut, even with those moves, because
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson's a player that is still trying to look for a path to get minutes. And he's a first round pick. So we still don't know, what he's gonna if he's gonna pan out, or what type of player he's gonna become. So I don't know if I can even have him in the equation yet, because John Collins is still on this team, and kind of like a Julius Randle thing. If John Collins is playing, then where's Jalen Johnson play? How does Okongwu
How
get,
does Okongwu
some
get in there?
minutes? So it's interesting, the dynamics that they have is
Yeah.
very similar to the Knicks in terms of their young core, to some of the quote unquote veteran type players that they have. I'm not too high on these guys. I mean, where is the guy here that could be an all-star or develop into? Where's the guy that you have hopes? I mean, we have some players that we have hopes that could, but who is that?
Yeah.
Is it Jalen Johnson? No. Uh AJ Griffin? I mean, again, where is he gonna play?
Yeah.
And he's recovering from injury, and he has some questions to answer about how explosive a player he is and what type of player he dropped crazy in the draft. So the Hawks are actually on one of the bottoms in terms of, we want to look at some of the rankings here for some of the young cores in the East.
No question about it. And last, before we get to the Knicks, how about the Wizards? Wizards, you got Hachimura, who last year kind of left. He had, some issues, didn't kind of sat out for a little bit. Don't really know what he has coming out of Gonzaga. You don't really know what he's about. Gafford, a player who I like, a young high flyer, rim runner, definitely like him. Denny Avdia definitely came on strong, especially to close out the season. This is supposed to be Corey Kispert. Not sure why it says Disport, but we'll blame that on the autocorrect. Another guy who, is supposed to come out as a sharpshooter coming out of Gonzaga, hasn't really shown too much. Johnny Davis, a guy who a lot of Knicks fans like, coming out of Wisconsin, didn't really have a solid summer league, but we'll see how he looks. You have Isaiah Todd, you have Vernon Carey Jr. And I think the Wizards situation is interesting because they gave Bradley Beal the bag. They have some of these young players, and then they went out and traded for Will Barton and Monte Morris. So, and obviously Beal wants to win, so it's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate some of these young talents with the vets that they brought in. It's going to be very interesting to see that mix. But overall, Al, your thoughts on this Wizards core?
Middling.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Like Gafford is
Very much Wizards like.
Yeah, very much. I mean, middling. I like Johnny Davis. I wish Johnny Davis was on the Knicks, even though he had a poor summer league. I don't think that will be who he is in the NBA. I think he just needs time to adjust. Corey Kispert, solid. Gafford, solid. I like Hachimura as well. It's middling. I mean, we haven't really seen the Wizards do much with that team, especially since they have Bradley Beal. They had Westbrook, who was a playing team, and they needed Westbrook to really carry them into that team into the playoffs 2 years ago. Like, I'm just curious how the Wizards are building this team. Like that's more of like the question I would have for them as a whole. Like I don't see how everyone is going to fit. I don't see how they're going to get all the playing time necessary to show and compete with someone like Bradley Beal. This roster, this youth is like more of a team that's looking to like tank and develop more so than compete right now. And that's what they did with Bradley Beal. I'm high on Johnny Davis, as I said. I like Hachimura. I think he's a solid. I think he's a solid power forward. Gafford is a solid power forward. Denny, I feel like he fades in and out when you watch him play. And then Corey Kispert, solid shooter. I like him.
Yeah. JD.
Well, I think Corey Disport is definitely, you know,
autocorrect, man. It's autocorrect.
You know he's dropping 30 on us.
Yeah, when he sees this, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
We just get it was a mistake, Corey. Chill. I mean, they have also a lot of just, I guess, kind of roster construction that's needed in terms of fits and where they're headed. They do have, I mean, they have the quantity of players to make a move if you want to go that route. You know, they got some players that a franchise could be sold on just because of youth. They have some wing players, you know, solid with Hachimura, although I thought that he would be a little further along.
Yeah.
He did shoot very well this season. He shot 44% from three. That's a career high. He shot 32 and 28 the previous 2 seasons from three. He didn't have as high points per game at 11 versus 13 points his previous 2 seasons. So I don't know. He's had some off the court stuff. I think Denny has been a disappointment personally so far because he was pretty much hyped a little bit as a potential, you know, guy that could be a lot better than what he's proven so far. You know, he's only shot 31% 2 straight seasons from three. I remember, you know, he was a hot topic with the Knicks, you know, during the draft in terms of a guy that can ball handle the ball, create shots, could be, I don't know, a Hito Turkoglu. You know, he got even some Luka comparisons. Like he was all over the board as a prospect. But he hasn't panned out yet. I'm not too, you know, Daniel Gafford. Now, Johnny Davis, you know, it's funny because, you know, we thought he was going to be a hot prospect with the Knicks. He was another topic with the Knicks. And then in the summer league, here's the thing. I know it's only summer league, but he really struggled in summer league. And you can say that it's just summer league. And yes, it is. But when you look at the specific trait that he struggled in summer league, is the same thing people telling me that Deuce is not going to be a rotation player, is he could not get by summer league defenders.
Yeah.
He could not separate. And he really struggled shooting the basket. He really struggled getting to his spots. And this is something that he had no issue in college, but was already a projection of a potential issue in the NBA. So we'll see. He's going to have to learn some footwork ability. He's going to have to learn to become savvy. And he's going to have to become a good shooter, because in the NBA, when you're not as explosive, one of the counters is, you know, just being able to have footwork and shoot the basketball. So let's see how Johnny Davis pans out. But right now, I don't see a lot of potential on this young core.
All right, now let's get to the main event. Let's get to the orange and blue, man, and see where they stack up against the rest, man. You got RJ, IQ,
Let's go.
Quentin Grimes, Miles McBride, Jericho, Tarzan Sims. We got Quentin Grimes in here twice. Okay, a little typo, but all good here. So
we were really trying to win.
Yeah, so we're really trying to, in other words, we're really trying to win to rig this thing, right? So here it is. You know, I think
Hawks fans, Pacers fans,
Raptors
fans, they're saying, all right, let's see if these guys are going to be objective.
Let's see if they're going to be
We've
complete
heard about our
homers.
teams. Let's see what they got to say about their own team.
Number one,
Yeah.
best of them all.
And then the homers in the chat are going to be like, oh, you guys are haters, right? So we're not going to be able to win this thing either way. But either way, here it goes from my perspective. There's three questions that I look at with this young core, right? Number one is when you look at as we looked at some of the top three, in my opinion. I didn't rank these yet, but when I look at teams like the Cavs, Detroit, Raptors, Orlando, you have, in the case of the Cavs, you already have established all-stars. In the case of those other teams, you have guys who you think you have a good feeling that their ceiling could be all-star. Who's that guy on the Knicks? I think RJ's trending that way. I'd like to think she's trending that way. 14, 17, 20 points per game. Let's see where he goes this season with Brunson in tow. Will he improve his efficiency from the field? Can he maintain 75 or better from the free throw line? If he can, I think he can get up to, say, 24. And then I think you're an all-star range, but it all depends on the chemistry between RJ Brunson and Randall. So I think RJ's certainly capable. Defensively, certainly capable. But with the rest of these guys, I see more role players in them. And it's not to say that they're bad players at all, but I see more role players. Grimes, I see more of a 3-and-D high floor. Yes, he's starting to put the ball on the floor a little bit more. He's starting to get a little bit more bounce in his game, which is great to see. I love Grimes, and I want to see what his potential is going to be. We know Obi's skill sets, getting out in transition, shot the ball well from three to close the year. The athleticism, much needed, sorely needed on this team. Looking at an IQ, a guy who can get you some instant offense. Obviously, he needs to work on his efficiency a little bit from the field overall, but a guy that nevertheless can get you some off the bench scoring and facilitating as well. Definitely liked how IQ came along as a facilitator last year. You have Cam, positional versatility, capable shooting from the field, needs to get more efficient. The athleticism, quick first step, getting to the basket. McBride, decent. I don't really see much from McBride with this team going forward. We'll see. Sims, I think right now he's slided in as the third string center. Obviously, the money's going to come first in terms of Mitch and Hartenstein. If there's any injuries, then I think you see Sims getting in there. So I think we have quality pieces and a borderline all-star right now. So that's one thing. Who's the guy? My second question is, will they play? Right? Because in the case of these 8 teams that we looked at, if you look at the Cavs, you look at Detroit, you look at the Raptors, you look at Orlando, you look at the Pacers, those young core, they're going to play, right? Some of these guys are already playing, and you have some rookies who are going to play. Maybe the Hawks, maybe the Wizards, some of those young guys may not get consistent minutes, but at least of those other teams, the Cavs, Detroit, Raptors, Orlando, those guys are going to play. So that's my question with Tibbs. Will these guys get meaningful minutes? And then the last question I have with this team is, what is the plan? Because we did see in this offseason, some of these guys could have gotten dealt. This is what Leon's goal ultimately is to land that star. So are these guys here for the long haul? With some of these young cores with the Cavs, you could obviously say yes. With Detroit, they're just getting started. Cunningham, Ivy, those guys are here. Raptors, Barnes isn't going anywhere. Orlando, Paolo, Franz, those guys are going to be mainstays. Knicks almost traded RJ to Utah. Whether you want to believe it or not. And just ask him yesterday where they had no media at the press conference. Knicks were ready to ship him off to the Mormons, all right? But that's neither here nor there. So that's my last question, fellas. What is the plan with this young core? Are we going to continue on the draft and development track, or are we just buying time? Who else wants to jump in?
You want me to answer those questions? You want my thoughts on
No,
this roster?
just jump in, man. Jump in. Yeah, jump in.
Well, I like this Knicks youth. I don't think it's the greatest out of all of them, but I think they stand pretty firm with some of the other young core amongst the other teams that we listed out here. I like RJ. You talked about he's a fringe all-star. I think he will be an all-star. I think he will get up there. I think he has shown every single season that he's willing to improve, and he does improve. Once we see that mid-range game from him, I think it's on a whole other level. We already know he can get to the line. We already know he can do all those other things. We know he has the ability to improve as a facilitator when need be and to initiate an offense. He took on the burden of being that number one option towards the end of last season. We know how his mentality is, how it's built for New York. I believe in RJ. Quickly, Top, and Grimes, those guys are going to get minutes because we've seen it last season, 2 seasons, depending on how long these guys have been here. We know these guys are solid contributors. Quickly, Top, and we saw at the end of last season, these guys really took a leap in their development. Once they got the time to be out there and not look over their shoulders and just play freely. Grimes, I think he's going to be a starter. I think he'll be in the starting rotation because he can play off ball for his defensive ability and the way he could just knock down shots. Jericho Sims, look, the wall of Jericho we always talk about, right? I feel if he gets called, if his number is called because someone gets injured, I feel he'll be just fine. Look, we had Grimes, Jericho, and Deuce play in Summer League, and they were number 2 in Summer League. They came in second place because that's how seasoned, how prepared they were. So that just gives you an idea how good these young players are stacked up against the other first, second, and even some third-year players in the league so far, and guys trying to make it into the league. So I think the Knicks have a solid young core right there. Is Deuce McBride going to get minutes? No. I like Cam Reddish. I love his intangibles. Is he going to find time? That's the bigger question. Is he going to be able to find time? To add on to your question, are they going to go full rebuild, right? And just let the youth play? I don't know. They got to pull it back. I'd like to see them pull it back so that these guys can get that playing time. But if we're just talking about where does this team stack up amongst the other team, this core stacks up pretty well, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I guess one of the ways I can answer this is just, I guess I'll ask you guys. You got the list.
Yeah.
If this was a lineup and we're just stacking them up against all the teams we've gone against, 82 game season, who has the most wins?
Of the 8 teams we listed? So basically, where are we ranking the Knicks right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my list right here goes like this. I'm going Cavs 1. I'm going Detroit 2.
Hey, hold on. Let me ask you this. Are you talking about entire roster that you're going number 1, or are you just based?
No, we're going cores.
Young core.
Just these lists.
Okay. Yeah, this is my young core ranked right now. I'm going Cavs 1. I'm going Detroit 2. I'm going Raptors. Orlando. I'm putting us 5th.
What?
Putting us 5th. Young core. Putting us 5th. Pacers, Hawks, Wizards. That's where I'm going. Putting us 5th.
All right, so that Raptors score, that Raptors score is winning more games than the Knicks score in the 82 game
I'm not talking about winning games. I'm talking about who has more promise. You yourself said of a Barnes, he could be a player that you might take over whole lists. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about promise. I'm not talking about can they win games. We have more young players than most of these teams. If we're going by our criteria, we have more young players who are on rookie scale deals. So we can field the team. I'm talking about promise. The Cavs, 2 All-Stars plus a potential. Detroit,
I agree there.
Two top 5 picks in the backcourt. That's promise. They have star potential.
I can rock with that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about winning games. If we're going to talk about winning games, obviously I go with the Knicks. They have the most. I would have to put the Knicks probably under the Cavs.
Are you so sure the Magic have a better core than the Knicks? Are we so sure about that?
Young core on rookie? I'm talking about potential.
Are we so sure about that?
I'm talking about potential. I'm talking about potential.
I mean, I guess if you want to throw the word potential in where they were drafted, but I mean, man, yeah.
They got a number 1 pick.
Cole Anthony. I don't know if Cole Anthony's gonna be all that,
bro.
All right,
we're talking about a number 1 pick.
if that's who you got, this is my.
I mean, if we're looking at the Donovan Mitchell talks, Quentin Grimes is going to be the next Bradley Beal, right?
I would love to see it. I think it's two different things. I think if we're talking about winning games right now, I think this Knicks team obviously has more experience. If you're going to put RJ out there,
How should we base it then? Because like if we're having this conversation 2 years from now and the Magic are still at the bottom, and the Knicks are like, doesn't that prove that maybe the Knicks because I get it, but at some point, this is why some of these franchises stay where they are because they draft a whole bunch of guys. But if these guys don't turn out to even be contributing impact players, then
thank you, JD.
It's just we're just talking draft here.
That's
fair. We're not really talking results.
But we're also omitting vets too in the equation, aren't we? Which I think plays a big factor in how far in how well teams can really reach their ceiling. I think that's been Orlando's problem, is that they haven't really had quality vets to really put everything together.
Sure. But sure. But my thing is, like, if we're just gonna stick on this exercise, right? I don't know how you could put it fifth. I don't know how you could put the Knicks fifth if we're looking at. I think you gotta think of like the accumulation, promise. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna put Scotty Barnes like that high, like I don't think he can carry all that. I don't think he makes
name me
up
a guy
all
on this
use.
team that could see Scotty Barnes right now, bro.
Scotty Barnes can't guard all these guys at once. And we're talking about, like, I get that a player can impact a team, like someone like Giannis can just like completely change the game. We saw LeBron do it. Those guys are like 1 in a million. You're telling me Scotty Barnes is that type of dude who's just gonna come out here and dominate like that?
Like I said, name me a guy with Scotty Barnes potential on the Knicks. I'm just being realistic, man. That's all. I'm just being realistic. I'm putting him fifth. I gave you Cleveland, Garland, Mobley.
I agree.
I'm giving you Cleveland.
I agree there.
Detroit,
I agree there.
Cade and Ivy.
I agree there.
Raptors, Scotty Barnes. Listen, all I'm going with Orlando is I feel like if Banchero as the number 1 pick with his skill sets, that is a guy that you can potentially build around. Not with, around. Is RJ that guy? Could he be that guy? Let's see. I think he's trending well. But other than that, I don't see that from the rest of our guys. I don't see it. So that's why I'm going off of. And then I put the Knicks under Orlando. I put them fifth of the 8 teams.
Man, I get it. Listen, I think it's just tough because I've always said, and that was like my biggest argument last season throughout, is that I thought this actual young core of the Knicks could actually impact like winning just because of their traits. They seem to be like more ready NBA traits, and when you look at these other guys, it's more like that star type potential. I don't know, man. I agree. I think Cavs definitely. No debate there. Pistons, no debate there.
Yeah.
The Magic, Wagner, and Banchero. I'm not going to argue that. Wagner has to do it this year, though. He's getting a lot of hype, because Evan Fournier's cooking in Eurobasket, too. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like a lot of these conversations are just the word hype.
Yeah,
we just get so excited. And then the NBA season comes, and it's just 35%. From the field, and we see a lot of the same thing, so I can agree, but yeah, Scotty Barnes is interesting because like I said, he could be that one guy, but after him, who else the Raptors got that Knicks got to envy?
That's what I'm saying, and everyone's in the chat like saying, I don't know, Scotty Barnes is nice. I know he's nice, but we're talking about, we're putting it up against everybody.
All right, let me ask you this. Who is Precious Achua better than on the Knicks young core?
Listen,
you're going to go all the way down the list to Jericho Sims?
He can
Malachi Flynn is essentially the Deuce McBride.
And he's number 3 on your list. You know what I mean?
Let's see. Let's see what the people got to say, man. Let me start the phones up. This is what the conversation's all about, man. So let's everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Fellas, give me 1 second. I'm going to put you guys on mute for a second. Let me start the phones up real quick. Hang tight. So to everybody in the chat, we are having a discussion. We are now down to the nitty gritty. Where does this Knicks young core rank in the East?
I like how you didn't want to answer the question.
Hang on, JD. Hang on. I'm just restarting the phones. I got my British assistant here talking. I don't want to talking over you. So to everybody in the chat, manscaped.com, promo code KFTV, 20% off plus free shipping. All right, I think we're good to go. All right, JD, go ahead. What were we saying now?
Listen, I like how you still didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
About you stack all these guys up. What would be the rankings if we're looking at an 82 game season? Are the Magic beating the Knicks? Are the Magic getting more wins in an 82 game season over the Knicks lineup?
No. If we're talking about going head to head, it's a different thing. That's a completely different thing.
Are the Pacers getting more wins than the Knicks in an 82 game season?
I think they could.
That core.
I think they could.
That core?
I think they could. I think they could.
What?
Well,
that core.
I'm putting the Knicks.
But I already ranked the Knicks ahead of the Pacers in terms of young core.
I'm putting the Knicks fourth. All right, I got the Cavs, I got the Pistons.
Yeah.
The Magic, Knicks, Pacers, Raptors, Wizards, Hawks. If we're going by quality and quantity. Quality and quantity. Okay? That's how I'm going by.
All right, let's get to the phones. Let me load up some people here. King Deej, I see you. We're gonna move you last. Let me get to Ron from Baltimore. Ron, how you feeling?
All right, I got the
Oh, Ron, you gotta mute your mic. Ron, going once. All right, I think Ron might have fell asleep. Let's go to JJ. JJ from Brooklyn.
Yo, fellas, what's good? How you guys doing, man?
Good. How you feeling?
What's going on?
How you feeling?
Chilling. Doing great, man.
Yeah.
Man, my thing is with the Knicks, bro, it's just these teams, all these young cores we're talking about, Orlando, all these teams, they all have tanked. We never fully embrace a tank, except for the 1 year where we got RJ. Mm-hmm. We're always halfway, like we're going to be this season. We're halfway trying to win now and halfway rebuild youth movement. Mm-hmm. That's why we're going to be in mediocrity again. We're going to be in no man's land. While Orlando and all these teams got another top 5 pick, we'll get the 12th pick. We won't make the playoffs. And the one thing that I always hear people say, and it's mostly people that aren't Knicks fans. I heard Mark Jackson say it this season. I heard them say it during one of our summer league games recently. They always say Knicks fans will never fully embrace a rebuild, a full youth movement. And in my opinion, you guys may disagree. I don't think that's true. I think as long as you tell us what the plan is, if you said, listen, we're going to do a youth movement rebuild for the next 2 years, mm-hmm. I think most Knicks fans will be okay with it. I really do. And there's this narrative out there that Knicks fans wouldn't be down with it. And I think 80% of Knicks fans that aren't too old, old, I think would rock with it. I really do. And in my opinion, I wish that's what we would do. I'm just tired of being in mediocrity in no man's land. It's hard to get out of no man's land, and it really is. And I think that's where we're going to be again this season.
Okay.
I just don't think our young core equals a lot of the others,
Okay.
But yeah, appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Rate that call in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. JJ from Brooklyn, rate that call in the chat. 1 being trash, 5 being facts. Now, let's get back to the phones. People are weighing in. Ari, go ahead and unmute your mic. Ari's in the building. Let's go.
You hear me?
Loud and clear. Let's go.
Yo, fantastic call by JJ. Fantastic call by JJ. Here's the thing that you don't understand, JJ. The Knicks are in the business of selling out the Madison Square Garden, making the playoffs, creating buzz. It's not in the financial interests of Madison Square Garden Group to go through a proper rebuild. This is why it's always win now mode. It's why they're always selling us Phil Jackson, 11 rings, David Fizdale, friends with LeBron. Leon Rose, connections to CA. They're always selling you something because they're trying to create buzz so they could boost demand for seats and things like that. The CEO said this on earnings reports, and it is what it is. That being said, I do think there's a way out. And I think the way out is by at least playing the young guys. You would hope that one of RJ, Obi, or Cam, or Grimes, one out of the 4, or even quickly, one out of the 5 takes that next step, probably RJ, to be an all-star. If these guys take another step, right, 1 or 2 of them real steps, then you have like all-star caliber players on your team, and then you have all of your draft picks to build around them. The draft is done. We're not going to tank. That ship has sailed, right? And the only way this team is going to get better right? Because we don't have enough assets to get a like. Even if we try to get Donovan Mitchell, it's not enough for us. The only way this team gets better, or at least gets to a championship team, is if Obi, the
Yes.
young guys, the core that we have, develop into not
It's
superstars. But
between RJ and Obi, man. Let's just keep it a buck. It's between RJ and Obi, man.
yes,
It's between RJ and Obi.
You're probably right. You're probably right. From when it comes to the ceiling, or it's between them. If one of those two hit, or even listen, I wouldn't sleep on Kim either. But you're right. For the most part, it's between those two. If one of them takes another step, now the Knicks become a destination because now other players want to come and play with them,
Yeah.
and you have your draft picks.
All right,
So I agree with AJ, but there's a middle ground, you know.
So where are you ranking them in that 8? I gave you. We talked about.
I'm with you, CP. Believe it or not, I'm actually with you. I think Scotty Barnes, OJ Anunoby, like.
Well, he's not really on that list. According to our criteria, he's not really on that list. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I still take the Raptors because they have versatility. They actually develop their players, and Scotty Barnes is worth more than anyone, at least on the Knicks right now. So I'm actually with you, CP, on that. But I don't think all hope is lost. But we just have to make sure that we play these kids, and one of them develops into a borderline or an all-star. That's the only way, man.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate the call, man. Good to hear from you, bro.
Salute, brother.
Yes, sir. That's Ari, man. Rate that call in the chat, man. What do you guys think? 1 being trash, 5 being facts. Ari on the check-in. Go ahead,
I know
Jay.
CP's giving that a 5 because he said Ari agrees with him.
Listen, man. Listen.
I would love RJ to take all this as motivation because he's getting so disrespected around the NBA, and people for whatever reason still don't think he can be that. I always think is his style it's just not an attractive style for like just when you watch on TV. You look at the Paul Pierce, you look at some of these guys, even Jimmy Butler, who's a star, but you can't say that Jimmy Butler's game is really like a box office kind of TV ratings, attractive type of style of basketball. So, RJ has a big year ahead of him. And, as Ari was saying, you need someone here to really, pop to the next step. And I mean, in my opinion, the only way out, in addition to what Ari said of having somebody from this core already take the next step, is if you are, like JJ the caller said, you're going to be stuck in no man's land and you're going to be in that late lottery. Well, Kobe Bryant was a 13th pick. Devin Booker was a 13th pick. Donovan Mitchell was a late lottery pick. Giannis, like literally, that's going to be the only way out. Is if you're going to be stuck, you're going to have to hope that you're in the right draft and you draft that one player, that Paul George, that Kawhi, the guy that drops a little bit, and that guy, when you're in the middle of the pack, that's literally the only hope is you draft the guy that drops that becomes SGA at number 12 or something like that. It's either that or what some of these callers have said in terms of somebody already here taking the next step.
Yeah. 100%.
So it can happen. You just got to get very lucky.
It can happen. And maybe this is a draft, right? They said this is a deep draft, as they always say with every draft, but they say this is a deep one. So, hey, maybe this is the one. We got 100 picks in this draft. Maybe we get one right.
100 picks.
We got a lot left over that we didn't use. So maybe one hits. No, but you did mention Mitchell in that group, and shout out to Cole from BK who mentioned last week he's the caller of the week, man. That Cole call is still going crazy on social media. A lot of people agreeing with what Cole from BK said about the front office, but one member of the front office who deserves his flowers is Walt Perrin, for the Knicks' ability to find value in these later picks. But it's just like you said, can we find that diamond in the rough? Find a diamond in 13, 14. A guy that can really, lift us up. All right, back to the phones we go. We'll take a couple more. James from Texas. James, where are you ranking this Knicks young core, James? Where are you ranking them?
That's really what my issue is.
Yeah.
Well, great to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
But my issue is that we haven't seen the kids. It's really difficult to say where we would rank because we could be on the lower end as far as what we've seen so far. But if you look at potentially what some of our players might be capable of, and if they get a chance to play, who knows? Because if you look at just Grimes, is Grimes the last year, kind of like, maybe 3-and-D player, see where he goes, or is he this guy that we've seen in Summer League that's like crossing people up, taking the ball off the dribble, running an offense type guy?
Yeah.
Is Brunson like at 26, he's about to hit his prime? Is he playoff Brunson, or is he career averages playing with Luka, 16-4 guy? We don't know that either. RJ has progressed every single year, and with even just a little bit more efficiency, he's a 25-point per game scorer. If he just added on efficiency, and every year he's gotten better at reading opposing defenses and playing both sides of the ball. And is that late year run that we had, is that the real Obi, or are we dealing with the Obi that plays behind Randall on a consistent basis? If all of those guys, if those are there, we've seen flashes of these things, but we've never got to see them consistent in play. And you still got Cam coming off the bench, who I don't even know, man. That guy could go anywhere from a bust to one of the best players in the league, depending on where his career goes. Hartenstein is an unknown. Mitch is potential defensive center of the year kind of thing, or even a defensive player of the year kind of candidate. Those things, I know it's a big if and a perfect storm kind of thing, but we just don't know. We've never seen them play.
Hey, that was one of my questions, man. Well, that was one of my questions. Will they get enough minutes? But the chat is irate, man. Like I told you guys getting into this conversation, there was going to be no win. And look at this. There's 16 teams in the East. I told people that the Knicks have the 5th best young core, and people still can't take it. How are we going to get through 82 games?
Listen, it's funny because I'm not too far. I think they're right there, 5-4.
I told y'all they top 5, and people still jumping out the window of me, man.
I think the criteria is interesting, but it's funny though, being 5 in the East, for a team that doesn't tank, it's not bad.
It doesn't,
right? I mean,
I said top 5.
That means they're hitting on Sims in the second round.
Yeah.
They're hitting on McBride, who even if you want to compare McBride to the lower end of all those lists, I will put him ahead of some of these lower end guys. We didn't even bother to mention some of them. Right? McBride could still be a solid player, rotational player. Sims some people think Sims might even be a starter. So and he's on the lower end. Cam is the last guy on the list, and Cam could be the most talented, one of the most talented players of everyone. Bro. So being 5 is actually not bad.
Top 5, and they set up disrespectful.
All these teams get top 5 picks, and you got the Knicks 5.
You can't make it up, Al. You can't make it up, man.
You can't. I mean, that just goes back to what you said about Walt Perrin being a good drafter, right? Like that's
there you go.
This is why. If you let the youth develop, and if you go in, if you allow this Knicks team to go into the lottery, be a high number pick in the lottery, and you give Walt Perrin that ammo, right? And especially if you couple it with the draft picks that we have that we're stashing, and if this is a deep draft that everybody's talking about, you can then put all that together, move even higher up, and go get that stud that you want to go get in this draft. But I have him 4, you have him 5. We're around the same spot. We just disagree on where we see the other teams and how they rank. But look, the Knicks have a solid young core for not tanking.
Yeah.
They tanked to get RJ, and outside of that, haven't tanked out. We were 4th 2 seasons ago, and we ended up with Grimes, McBride, Sims, and Rokas, who we haven't still even seen play over here yet. And everyone's touting how great he is over in the Euro League.
We didn't even talk about the next Dragic.
Yeah, man. He considers himself the next Dragic.
And the next Paul George. We didn't talk about Trevor Keels.
Oh God!
Why we put him on the list?
We be here all day, man.
Oh,
Baron Hunt. The Knicks are stacked.
We be here all day, man. All right, back to the phones. Let's take a couple more. Michael White, are you there, Michael White? Michael White.
I'm here.
Let's
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yeah, man. How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good. I felt a little better before I started listening to this because I didn't feel like we were that far down. I thought we would be 3 or 4.
Yeah. Well, that's just my opinion. So you give me yours. What is your opinion, sir? Where do you think they rank?
I'm saying it's 4, but I mean, to me, it's hard to gauge because of who.
Yeah.
And because he's gonna be standing right there, right there in front of Obi.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether they would even consider starting Obi and bringing Julius off the bench.
Okay. No,
I was
I don't
proud of
see it, and
Julius.
I'm just gonna cut your call because you're getting a little staticky, so it's not good for the show. But I appreciate the call, Michael. No, that's not gonna happen. Somebody else had was asking that question: would they bench Julius and start Obi? That's never gonna happen.
No,
That's
you
never
don't.
gonna happen.
You don't give a guy an extension.
Yeah. Whose
And
max
then put him
extension
on
is
the bench.
kicking in this year, and then you put him on the bench. Nah, that's never gonna happen, bro.
Nah. And as much as I would love to see Obi start, you're not doing that to Randall.
Nah.
Especially if you want to move him. Like, don't you want him to succeed?
Yeah, they're not
Like,
gonna do that.
Even as a Knick, like I would like to see Randall succeed. Okay,
Right.
Even though I'd like to see Obi, I'd like to see Randall succeed, do well in the orange and blue and whatnot. But I'm not going to bench him because he still has talent. He put up 20, 10, and 5 last season. Like, even though it was inefficient, like it's still numbers that you have to respect.
Yeah. I think Tremaine Grant in the chat said about the Raptors, we didn't mention Christian Coloco and Delano Blanton. Coloco, we'll see what he does with them at the 5. Raptors definitely need help at the center position. And Blanton certainly had his highlights with the team, whether it's in the G League or with the Raptors. One thing with the Raptors, is that they're going to draft well, they're going to develop players, right? I mean, I would certainly take their track record over ours right now. I take Ujiri over our squad right now. And that's just how I'm looking at it. And they have Barnes. So that's why I put the Raptors ahead. That's why I'm putting the Raptors ahead. All right, 2 more, and then we'll wrap up. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Clay from New York. Clay, where are you putting the Knicks?
My man, CJ,
Oh,
JD, Alex. Listen, it's a pleasure, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm listening to you guys talk. And, you guys said that, you know what? Hey, the Knicks is at 5th with their rookie core.
Al, if he wasn't Jamaican, I would have banged it on him already, but let's go.
Like, why are we not giving RJ some love? Like, real talk.
Yeah.
Where are you putting the Knicks?
No, we give.
I put the Knicks really and truly second. I want to say first, but then you're going to tell me that the Toronto Raptors have a better core, so I'm going to put second there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'll be honest with you. Hey, listen. Don't even start that, man. I'm American.
He's delayed.
Come on,
Clay, Clay. First of all, Edgar, we got to give him the rules. We got to turn down the radio. If you guys didn't get what was going on, Clay was listening to us on his TV and talking through us through the delay. Brethren, I was trying to work with you, brethren. You know what I'm saying? Now he came in. We knew it was one of our countrymen. I was giving him a chance. He called me CJ. That was his first mistake. I was flowing with him. That's our peoples. That's family, bro. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it's CJ, RJ.
Yeah.
PJ, I don't know.
Yeah. Work with me, brethren. Work with me, brethren. No, we're not knocking RJ. I don't think we're knocking RJ at all, man. I'm very pleased with RJ's development and track record so far. I think I've been pretty consistent in saying that. And so, like I said, it all depends on the chemistry between him, Brunson, and Randall, and his efficiency. That's it.
That's definitely a fact, CJ.
CJ's made some really great points tonight.
Bro, I was trying to work with him.
Outstanding show by CJ.
I was trying to work with him, man. But then he's talking to us through the TV. Edgar, we gotta before the season. This is preseason mode, so we'll let it flow.
Yeah.
But for those of you at home, the rules: no speakerphone. All right, turn down your radio or your TV and just go through your phone. And number 3, this is a family show. Just 3 simple rules. 3 simple rules.
And get the names right.
And get the names
This
right.
This adds to the list of messing up franchise for franchise. It's Knicks Fans TV.
Knicks Fans TV,
Now we got, instead of CP, we got CJ.
Yeah.
CJ the franchise of Knicks Fans TV.
That's it. It's great, man. It's great. All right, let's close it out.
Oh, and one last one.
Yeah.
No snoring while you're
and no sleeping.
When you go, when you actually go live.
Yeah.
Don't actually start snoring.
No sleeping.
That's the infamous, historic call on KnicksFanTV.
Yeah, that's it, man. We don't ask for much on this show.
You remember the one I'm talking about? CP?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got it. Yeah. We still got to put that clip together of I forgot who it was, man. And my guy was sleeping. I think we got him twice. I think we got him 2 times. But one, he was definitely snoring. And we called back the second time. He was like, "Yeah, my bad, bro. I was asleep." Yeah, we gotta play that soundbite for sure, man. All right, let's close.
You gotta
this.
have a whole reel of like all the like being on a bike.
When Truth called in on the bike. Yeah, we gotta get that. We gotta find that one. Truth, if you're out there, man, send me that episode, man, when you were calling in on the bike. And it was like he was in a hurricane. It's like, yeah, Truth, what's going on, man? The wind was just whisking all over the place.
That's respect to the game right there.
Yeah, he's a loyal supporter, man. We rock with him heavy, man. Rock with Truth from Arkansas heavy, man. All right, let's close this one out. Great show, great discussion. King Deej, close it out.
What's up, y'all? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, man, what's going on?
All right, peace and love to the room, man. I hope everybody enjoyed the off season.
Yep.
I didn't lose my mind about Donovan Mitchell. I told a lot of y'all not to. Mm-hmm. So going forward, let's talk about this young core. Cause CP, CJ, this is my favorite topic.
Yeah.
Shout out to JD, shout out to Alex, shout out to everybody that's underneath the chat. But a lot of y'all are sleeping on what John Hammond and Jeff Waltman are doing in Orlando. Because if you take a look at what they were doing, they were in the same predicament that we are. 8th seed, scratching for the playoffs with Vooch and Evan and that core. And they basically retooled on the fly. I mean, I actually agree with like what Ari and CP are saying. Like you guys are taking it a little bit too seriously as the 4-5 because Scotty for sure is the number one out of all these teams. He's the number one player. Then you could possibly put RJ in that mix. The problem is they was trying to trade all these kids, unlike all these other teams that are listed. These other teams that are listed are trying to play them. And I for me personally, I think Orlando's right there. I mean, you got Wendell, you got Banchero, you got Cole, you got Jonathan, who are people back from major injury, and you got Franz Wagner. If you're paying attention to EuroLeague ball right now, Franz Wagner, yes, Evan Fournier is doing his thing, but take a look at what Franz Wagner did to Giannis today. So he's in that same predicament. It's not a disrespect to say the Knicks are 4th and 5 because honestly, besides RJ, maybe Obi and Cam, there's nobody that's a guaranteed all-star. That's if you're saying that from your heart, then at this point you're not being realistic with yourself. And they're still trying to trade Cam and Obi. So I just take a look at it like this, man. Where as long as Jalen Brunson is going to unlock RJ, as long as he does that coming into the season, then he'll be fine. But other than that, I completely agree. I got Detroit. If y'all follow me, I've been talking about Ivy since the beginning of this year. So now that it's Cade, you got Sadiq. It's pretty fair. I don't see where you did wrong. So I think everybody just needs to relax. RJ's the second best player out of all these teams. You got Scotty, then you got RJ. Then it's a toss up. But we just gotta hope and pray that they don't self-destruct. Still gotta guys. You still gotta develop. Yep. And I think what a lot of people are misunderstanding is that these teams develop these players. Yeah, they might lose more games than us, but we're talking about future young core. So I got Orlando being in our way by the time that we're ready. I got Detroit in our way by the time we're ready. I don't think the Pacers are better than us. I think they got core players like the same as we do. But other than that, I completely agree. I got them as 4 or 5. I got them as 4 or 5. So I think everybody just needs to take it easy and let's gear up for the season, man. It's gonna be fun. I'll see you guys at opening night, and I will be in Memphis as well because those seats are cheap. So peace and love to y'all, and I'll see y'all when the season really starts.
King Deej closing the show out, and he agrees with me. And let's go to the polls in the chat. 43% put the Knicks around 3 to 4, ranked their young core. 34% 5-6. So still within range. Still within range. Well, great show either way, man. You saying something else?
No,
I thought JD say something.
No, I was gonna say it's gonna be, it's if they, like you said, if they can play, I would like to have this conversation a year from now.
Yeah. All right, let's do it, man. So yeah, as we said, people in the chat, training camp is vastly approaching, and we're gonna continue to ramp up the content, ramp up our training camp season preview. So definitely keep it locked. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Share this video right now if you can, man. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, on Instagram, share it with your family and friends, because this is the number one show for the fans, by the fans. Let me salute the super chats that have come in, and then we'll cap it off with some gridiron talk. Sheer Brilliant says, Obi gotta go at Julius in camp. House Flan says, don't forget Yakubitis and Euro killing it. Gotta be Legend checking in from Costa Rica says, we need to prepare the youth. A lot of teams have good young core. We need to let our young guys develop while still trying to acquire young talent. Think 5 years down the line. Mr. Knicks 101, all you need is one guy to change your franchise, and Barnes is better than RJ. Ishmael Mustafa says, Knicks have about 7 really solid young guys, a few with star potential. They gotta be top 3. Kaiser Sosei 718 says, the Cavs and Pistons went into the draft and drafted future All-Stars. The Knicks refused to tank to get potential superstars, so we will be stuck on the outside looking in, hoping someone forces their way here. John DLR says, do you think Tibbs will start a game with all left-handed players this year? Knicks Hive Live says, if the front office fires Tibbs, I will trust him a lot more. He's not the right fit for this squad. NY Bully says, do you think the front office listens to the fans? No, not yet at least. Antoine White says, trade Randall, offense flows better, Obi start, and a real reset. Blade Pinderhughes says, salute to the fan, Ayo, higher ceiling, RJ or Miles? Oh, I think this is from, no, this is from another show. Okay. All right, fellas. How about those Giants, man? Went into Tennessee. Saquon running all over the place. He's still running. They still can't stop him. Trucking everybody. Down our 2 most talented pass rushers. I didn't give us much of a chance. But the kid Ward really stepped up. I thought the defense really held it down. I thought the run defense was good against Derrick Henry. Secondary, Ben didn't break. Darnay Holmes almost cost us a little bit down there in the stretch, but overall, fairly solid, man. Fairly solid. Give credit. Welcome back, Sterling Shepard. Daniel Jones after the interception in the end zone. Shout out to Daboll for chewing him out. That was very much necessary. He's got to get his act together. But he bounced back. Got us a dub, JD. Got us a dub, man. I was happy.
Oh, man. I lost my voice. The show would have been yesterday. There was no way I would have made it. So it was the sports bars were hectic. And I mean, man, what a opening week in the NFL all around. You got some thrillers, you look at that Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. I saw you tweet about it, CP.
Never ended.
I saw you tweet about that one, CP. And you saw, the decisions last night with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah,
you paid a quarterback over $200 million, but you don't put the ball in his hands. You
kicked the 60-yard field.
A career high for a kicker, former Giant, by the way. So I'm sure that's why that didn't work out. But listen, man, this was an impressive win for the Giants. I think they head into game 2 now with a lot of momentum. It's a home opener now against the Carolina Panthers. I thought, their rookie tackle, Evan Neal, had a decent to solid game. But I think the biggest storyline is Saquon Barkley. How could it not be? This is a guy that's dealt with a lot of injuries, and you're going to see the offense is going to be built around him. And guess what? This Giants organization is going to run him down to the ground because there's no commitment to next year. You don't know if they're going to give him a contract extension. He's going to want all the carries and touches that he can get.
He's going to want it.
So I don't think he cares. I mean, all around, man, what a great win. I also liked, and you see this, and I never understand it, whenever there's the last drive and a team is up, they always play soft coverages, soft defense. A team drives down, gets a field goal or gets a touchdown. Wink Martindale said, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me with the blitz. He was aggressive.
Tighten up.
it almost cost them because obviously Darnay Holmes was in man coverage, but in the end, I'd rather lose that way.
Yeah.
And so, great win. I don't know if you want to go to Alex next or if we just want to close the show down now.
we can give Alex.
I'm not a Jets hater. I root for the Jets, but I'm just saying because, man, that was some. And the head coach is panicking now. Now he's going Julius Randle on everyone, right?
Yeah, Salah got his welcome to New York moment, man.
Hey, no, this is a real season for the Jets, all right? They got to start winning, okay? This is the third season of Joe Douglas. We got some nice young guys. I like what we see in Garrett Wilson. I like what we see from Jermaine Johnson. Our defense was lighting it up. They kept us in the game for the first half, but the defense can only do so much when you got nothing on offense. We got elite Flacco, and by elite Flacco, I mean non-existent. That man threw 59 times for 300, barely getting over 300 yards.
Oof.
Barely. It was a lot of. The offense had all the yips possible, man. It was just terrible to watch.
Who you got next week?
We got the Browns next week, so this is a good matchup. Okay, they got who is it? Jacoby Brissett playing QB.
Yeah.
All right, so
if y'all don't win this game,
this is going to be sound of the alarms almost because two teams got solid defense. Offense is going to be questionable.
Yeah,
as all hell. This is gonna Jets got to win this one. There's no question about it because then we got the Steelers. And then, we got the Bengals next, then the Steelers. So we got all the AFC North for the first 4 weeks of the season.
In just 2 days, we got a great matchup. Thursday Night Football, Chargers and the Chiefs. That's going to be great. And just want to say to our great colleague, we love her. She's outstanding. She's doing great things. She's definitely a star. And I know she's way too big to even be watching us at this time, but this gets to you, Miss Ashley Nicole Moss. My condolences, and it's not because of the Dak injury; it's actually the way you played before him. So I think it doesn't even matter. And so, good luck this season, as you guys will sit in the basement in the NFC East.
Yeah, man. If you guys talk to Ash, send her our regards. The Cowboy fans, man.
By the way, we got a Knicks TV fantasy football league going on, and I see TM talking smack to me in the chat. 0-1 and fantasy and an NFL team. TM, I saw you get spanked 170 to 122.
Ooh.
All right, woo.
Who you played, CP?
I played Gamba. My team I had double zeros from both my running backs. Not good. Not good. Cam Akers, JK and JK Dobbins. One, I should have checked the injury list with Dobbins. I should have got him out of there Sunday morning. Completely forgot. Cam Akers, who everybody drafted, didn't even play. Now the coach is saying he got practice issues, so that's pretty bad. And I had the 7th pick, so my team is just kind of average all the way around. But we'll figure it out. The fantasy is won on the waiver wire. Pay attention. That's all I'm gonna say. I might catch a sneaky move tomorrow. That's all I'm saying.
I'm hitting the waiver wire tonight after this this show. So gonna have to. I got third in priority, so it's all good. It's all good.
Absolutely, man. Well, great show, fellas. Great show to everybody in the chat. Remember, the opening night home opener, Knicks versus Pistons at MSG, a Knicks Fan TV production, man. You don't want to miss it. We've been doing it 3 years in a row, and it keeps getting better every year. The ticket's going to include pregame access at Mustang Harry's, pregame shoot-around, a visit by Knicks alumni, postgame photo on the court, plus a ticket to watch the game from the Chase Bridge Suites. We got 100 people suite. It's going to be fantastic. Food, free drinks as well. So make sure you guys go to theomnifan.com and go get your tickets right now. Do not delay. Also, remember that the show is presented by Manscaped. Manscaped.com, #1 men's grooming tool below the waist. Go to manscaped.com. Enter promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. And last but not least, remember that the show is available in audio podcast format, so never have a reason to miss it. And go ahead and check us out on all major podcast platforms and subscribe today. All right, folks, great show. Check you guys for another edition this Knicks Weekly next week. So to all the mods, we out here. Peace.